General Hospital spoilers for next week, May 12th to 16th. Predictions: Drew Cain has set his sights on two of Port Charles's most powerful women, Portia Robinson and Tracy Quartermaine, believing them to be his chief adversaries in the weeks ahead. Armed with supposedly damning testimony from Brad Cooper, Drew is convinced that Portia is the mastermind behind the ketamine poisoning scandal, and that Tracy is her willing accomplice. But as the pieces of his investigation start to fall into place, Drew is headed for a reckoning more bitter than he ever imagined. The story begins late one evening in the cavernous corridors of Metro Court Hospital, where Portia Robinson sits alone in a dimly lit conference room, her fingers drumming anxiously on the polished wood table. The hum of vending machines and the distant echo of footsteps remind her that she is isolated, from the friends she once trusted, from the community she once served, and from the truth of what really happened. Portia's mind races back to the night when someone slipped ketamine into the champagne meant for the charity gala. She recalls the panic in Felicia's eyes, the way patients stumbled, dazed, in the grand ballroom, and the confusion that followed as security cameras were reviewed and whispers turned into accusations. Portia had insisted she knew nothing, that she would never betray her own charity or her friends. But when Brad Cooper's name surfaced, implicating her as the one who hired a dealer to procure the drug, Drew Cain pounced. Drew's leverage over Brad began with a chance encounter in a back corridor of General Hospital. Brad, desperate to cover his mounting debts and prevent his daughter Scout from discovering the truth about his financial misdeeds, confided in Drew about the ketamine scheme. Drew listened patiently, asking the right questions, offering just enough sympathy to lower Brad's defenses. In exchange for wiping away his debts and providing a new start outside Port Charles, Drew demanded one thing: Brad's cooperation. And Brad, terrified of losing everything, named Portia. He painted a picture of a woman so desperate to sabotage Selena's gala that she had orchestrated the entire plot. Brad's shaking voice as he relayed these details to Drew was all the corroboration Drew needed. With Brad's story in hand, Drew launched a full-scale operation against Portia. He sifted through medical records, traced financial transactions, and even orchestrated a leak to the press that painted Portia as a rogue socialite with a vendetta. The headlines screamed betrayal, beloved host turns villain, and charity queen's dark secret. Portia awoke each morning to the sting of fresh rumors, her reputation in tatters. Her allies, Max Scorpio, Felicia, and Anna Devane, rallied to her side, but the doubt planted by Drew's slick insinuations spread like wildfire. Portia's law practice faced calls for boycotts, and the hospital board debated whether to suspend her privileges. Every time she tried to mount a defense, Drew was one step ahead, releasing new evidence that seemed impossible to disprove. Yet Drew's focus did not stop with Portia. Piecing together Brad's offhand remarks about Tracy Quartermaine's attendance at the gala and her long-standing business ties to Portia, Drew convinced himself that Tracy was a co-conspirator, perhaps the one who brokered the deal between Portia and the dealer. In Drew's mind, Tracy's involvement made perfect sense. She had clashed publicly with Elena in the past, had cause to resent the gala's charitable beneficiaries, and possessed the financial acumen to facilitate an under-the-table transaction. Thus, Drew cast Tracy as Portia's shadow partner, planting whispers among the Quartermaine board that their matriarch was embroiled in criminal activity. Soon, subpoenas arrived at the mansion, bank accounts were frozen, and Tracy, indignant and furious, faced the most public humiliation of her distinguished life. But the real bombshell threatens to explode in Drew's own face. In his zeal to destroy Portia and Tracy, Drew has overlooked the true architect of the ketamine plot, someone far closer to him than he imagines. The trail of breadcrumbs leads not to Portia's office or Tracy's desk, but to Nina Reeves, the woman who has stood by Portia through thick and thin. Nina, who lost everything when her relationship with Drew fell apart, quietly slipped into Portia's orbit, offering legal advice, emotional support, and an unwavering loyalty that few could comprehend. Together, they pored over witness statements and medical logs, uncovering discrepancies that pointed not to Portia, but to an outsider manipulating the scene. Nina's involvement was innocent. She had served as Portia's confidant, not her co-conspirator. But to Drew, perception was reality, and he would soon discover that his misdirection carries a steep price. As Drew intensifies his campaign, he fails to notice the glimmer of evidence that will bring the truth to light. Willow Corinthos. Having carved out a reputation as a savvy investigator in her own right, Willow picks up on a pattern in Drew's surveillance of Portia's associates. She notes that Nina is the constant presence in Portia's meetings, the one person who seems to anticipate Drew's every move. Curious and concerned, Willow discreetly reviews the transcripts of Drew's phone taps, cross-referencing dates and locations. Late one night, in the quiet of the Reeves penthouse, Willow discovers an intercepted message that changes everything, a voicemail from Nina to Portia, in which Nina gently warns her friend of Drew's plan. The recording is proof that Nina was working to protect Portia, not frame her. Willow replays Nina's voice. "He's watching us, Portia. He'll set you up if I don't warn you first." It's a simple act of friendship, yet for Drew it upends his entire investigation. Racing against time, Willow confronts Drew in his makeshift command center, a hotel suite rigged with monitors and files. With trembling urgency, she plays the voicemail, watching as Drew's confident facade crumbles. He realizes that every accusation he leveled against Portia and Tracy is founded on lies and manipulation. Nina, the real ally in Portia's corner, is the one who will pay the price for his misjudgment. Willow, torn between her loyalty to her mother and her duty to the truth, steels herself. She will ensure that Nina is spared, that Portia's name is cleared, and that Tracy's innocence is vindicated. But she also knows that revealing Nina's connection to Drew, one more tangled thread, could invite Drew's wrath upon her own family. The consequences of exposing this revelation will send shockwaves through the Corinthos dynasty. Meanwhile, in the shadowy underbelly of Port Charles, another dramatic revelation is stirring. Lulu Spencer has spent months whispering about a secret child, Gio Palmieri, rumored to be the son of Dante Falconeri and Brooke Lynn Quartermain. The rumor mill swirled ever since Joe's uncanny resemblance to Brooke Lynn's features and Dante's eyes was noticed at family gatherings. At first, Lulu dismissed the whispers as idle gossip, but then a mysterious informant delivered a carefully folded envelope containing paternity test results, uncertified, but damning enough to warrant deeper investigation. Determined to uncover the truth, Lulu embarks on a clandestine operation that would test her intuition and her nerve. Under the cover of night, Lulu slips into the Quartermain stables where Brooke Lynn works on her horse, Spencer. She covertly collects a discarded hairbrush from Brooke Lynn's saddlebag and, with equal stealth, obtains a swatch of Dylan's hair, Dante's faithful canine companion, whose DNA would bear the unmistakable imprint of his owner. With hair samples in hand, Lulu makes her way to the local lab, bypassing reception with a mix of charm and urgent whispers. The lab technician, paid in hush money and secrecy, promises to fast-track the analysis. As Lulu waits, her mind churns. If Gio is Dante's son, then Brooke Lynn's secret liaison is no mere fling. It is a life-altering truth that could fracture families, destroy careers, and rewrite legacies. Back in her cramped apartment, Lulu pores over childhood photos of Gio, comparing them to snapshots of Dante and Brooke Lynn. Every tilt of his head, every curve of his smile seems to echo their features. Yet what stabs at her heart is the potential betrayal. Dante, her brother-in-arms at the PCPD, and Brooke Lynn, her childhood friend, both kept this secret from her. With the test results looming, Lulu arranges a covert meeting with Lois Cerullo, her confidant in all things investigative. But Lois, ever protective of Lulu, grows suspicious of her late-night activities. One evening, as Lulu kisses Brooke Lynn's brush to preserve the root end for testing, Lois catches her in the act. The shock on Lois's face is tempered by a flicker of fear. She knows the stakes of paternity secrets in Port Charles. To ensure her own silence and Lulu's, the ruthless Lois broaches the unthinkable. If word gets out before I know where you stand, I'll have to protect myself. You vanish quietly, Lulu, or you risk more than heartbreak. The threat hangs in the air like a guillotine blade. Lois's loyalty is as deep as her love for Lulu, but her willingness to resort to violence reveals just how high the stakes are. For Lulu, the ultimatum crystallizes the enormity of her mission. To uncover the truth, she must navigate betrayal, blackmail, and the possibility that her closest ally might turn on her. As the paternity twist unfurls, Port Charles braces for another fallout. Dante, already torn between his duty and his blood, senses a disturbance in his carefully ordered life. He notices Brooke Lynn's guarded glances, his own confusion at the subtext in their shared smiles, and the hushed tones exchanged behind closed doors. When he receives an anonymous tip urging him to check anyone with a child named Gio, his instincts kick into overdrive. He confronts Brooke Lynn in a rain-soaked alley behind Kelly's, demanding answers. Brooke Lynn, cornered, admits to a fleeting affair, one fueled by passion during a moment of vulnerability, but swears Gio is not Dante's. The trial of emotion in their eyes betrays her words, and Dante's world tilts on its axis. While Drew Kane contends with his misfires and Lulu fights for the truth about Gio, another shadowy plot takes shape, one that involves Jens Sidwell and Tracy Quartermaine in an unlikely alliance. Jens, the enigmatic advertising executive with a reputation for steering public perception, approaches Tracy with a proposition. He has plans for a carefully orchestrated attack on a key figure in Port Charles, one that will tarnish her reputation beyond repair and dump the blame on none other than Alexis Davis. Jens needs Tracy's political connections and her mastery of public relations to ensure the plan's success. Though wary of Jens' motives, Tracy recognizes an opportunity. By aiding him, she could simultaneously discredit Alexis, remove a rival on the Quartermaine board, and strengthen her own position. The deal is struck in hushed tones in Tracy's sunlit conservatory, amid the scent of jasmine and the ticking of grandfather clocks. Their handshake seals a bond forged in manipulation, the echoes of which will reverberate through Alexis's career and possibly her freedom. Across town at General Hospital, Trina Robinson sits vigil at Kai Taylor's bedside, her heart a pendulum swinging between hope and despair. The prognosis is dire. The surgery to repair Kai's brain injury has failed, leaving him comatose, possibly beyond recovery. Trina, once the embodiment of optimism, now weighs the absurd idea that their love is cursed, that some cosmic force has condemned them to this fate. In the sterile glow of the ICU's fluorescent lights, she weeps, imagining the life they could have had, laughter over late-night pancakes, stolen kisses in the rain, dreams shared beneath the stars. The doctor's clinical terms, minimal chance of awakening, echo in her mind. Desperate, she wonders if ending their romance, if relinquishing the bond that ties them, might break the curse and rouse Kai from his slumber. The thought horrifies her, yet it takes hold like a vine around her heart. In her darkest moment, Trina prays not for Kai's recovery, but for relief from a love that seems more a prison than a blessing. Meanwhile, ambition and guilt drive another young woman's journey. Jocelyn Jacks, fresh off the scandal involving Emma Scorpio Drake, sets her sights on an assistantship with the renowned Professor Henry Dalton at Port Charles University. The position is her ticket back into legitimacy, a chance to prove that she is more than the spoilt socialite her critics paint her as. But Jocelyn knows that to secure the role, she must play dirty. She manipulates registrars, leaks incriminating rumors about her competition, and even bribes a teaching assistant to adjust recommendation letters in her favor. Each deceitful act weighs on her conscience, especially when she thinks of Emma, once her friend, who suffered because of Jocelyn's ambition. Yet Vaughn, her handler in the WSB operation, counsels her with cold pragmatism. This is bigger than you or Emma. You have a mission. Is your guilt worth sacrificing everything? Jocelyn steels herself, repeating Vaughn's words like a mantra. When the day of the interview arrives, Jocelyn's nerves betray her for a moment as Carly Spencer, her mother, unexpectedly appears outside the lecture hall. Carly, ever perceptive, spies Vaughn slipping away as Jocelyn enters. The sight of them together, Vaughn with his quiet intensity, Jocelyn with her practiced smile, ignites a spark of suspicion in Carly's mind. She recalls Vaughn's evasive answers about his past, the way he always seems to be in the right place at the right time, and the clipped secrecy between them. Carly's maternal instincts scream that something is off, that Vaughn is more than an academic mentor. Later, over a late-night coffee at Charlie's pub, Carly confronts Jocelyn. Jocelyn's quick-witted deflections only deepen Carly's doubts. As Carly pieces together the implications of Vaughn's presence, his ties to the WSB, the hush-hush conversations, the clandestine meetings, she realizes that her daughter is entangled in a world Carly never imagined. Across these converging storylines, Port Charles is a city on the brink. Drew's false crusade against Portia and Tracy will soon collapse under the weight of Willow's evidence, but not before wreaking havoc on reputations and alliances. Lulu's paternity probe threatens to upend the Morgan and Quartermain legacies, while Lois Cerullo's lethal warning adds a deadly edge to what should have been a simple truth-seeking mission. Jen's and Tracy's collusion promises a scandal that will shake Alexis Davis to her core, and Trina's tortured vigil at Kai's bedside lays bare the cruel intersection of love and helplessness. Jocelyn's ascent to Professor Dalton's assistantship comes at the cost of her integrity and her relationship with Carly, who stands on the threshold of discovering the WSB's presence in her daughter's life. Together, these tangled threads weave a tale of betrayal and loyalty, ambition and redemption, power and vulnerability. As Port Charles hurtles toward the week of May 12th to 16th, every character must confront the consequences of their choices. Friendships will fracture, families will splinter, and the very definition of justice in this city will be tested. In Port Charles, where secrets are currency and trust is a fragile commodity, the only certainty is that, when the dust settles, no one will walk away unchanged.